Hello, Bleacher Report listeners. My name is James Hill. I run the YouTube channel MrBucsNation. I also do a lot of live streams here on the Bleacher Report app, and that is what we are doing yet again today in this live stream. Now, as you guys can read the title, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offseason is going into full swing, and with that, a lot of changes have happened. Dave Canales, the Buccaneers' former offensive coordinator, is out. He has joined the Carolina Panthers as their head coach. The Bucs have brought in a new offensive coordinator of their own in the form of Liam Cohen. And congratulations to Liam Cohen for getting that opportunity. Former Kentucky offensive coordinator, former LA Rams offensive coordinator, now current Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator. But there is still a lot of work to be done in the form of free agency. And it all starts with re-signing your own guys. So I thought that it would be pretty important to, go over the list, essentially, right? The guys who are in danger of leaving the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or are going to come back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So we have a list on, I believe it is spottrack.com, of all the current free agents of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going to go through the list. We're going to cover every single name on this list. There's 20 players, and I'm going to give the thoughts and opinions as to whether or not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should or shouldn't bring back this player. So hopefully you guys all enjoy. Starting off with the big one, it is Mike Evans. Now, I want to start off by saying this. There is a rumor that Mike Evans wants $25 to $30 million in his next deal with the team. And whenever I saw that rumor, I thought, man, it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Mike Evans is probably going to be his last big payday for, essentially for essentially what is going to be his career. Right. I believe that is going to be his last big payday. I believe that is something that is essentially just going to be a thing. Right. So whenever I saw that rumor, I guess, so to speak, I thought, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. That makes sense that Mike Evans would want $25 to $30 million. And I still believe that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should give Mike Evans that money. I still believe that they should be the team that gives Mike Evans that big payday, probably his last big payday of his career. Mike Evans is the king of consistency. I've said that time and time again here on this platform, on the Bleacher Report app, and I will continue to say it until Mike Evans retires. He is the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL, in my opinion. Again, he's never had a year under 1,000 receiving yards. He has never had that. He's never dropped off. He's never had a bad year. He continues to be the king of consistency, the essence of consistency, and I think that is going to reward him. A lot of people forget this was Jason Light's first ever draft pick, folks. First ever draft pick. That matters a lot. I mean, a whole heck of a lot, being the first ever draft pick of a general manager. Jason Light is going to want to get the deal done. It makes him look absolutely fantastic. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to want to get a deal done. It is going to make them look fantastic. And I think ultimately Mike Evans does want to stick around if the money is right. This isn't an organization that just won 2 football games last year. No, they went to the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game. They proved that they can win and still stay consistent with being competitive, even without Tom Brady at quarterback. And I think all those things matter. So I say all that to say this. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should re-sign Mike Evans. I do believe he will be back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I do believe that is the right move to be done. Moving on to the next name, it's Devin White. I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should bring back Devin White. Now, I know there are still some people around Bucs fans circles who still believe that the Bucs should bring back Devin White, especially with the uncertain future of Levante David. I understand where people are coming from, but I think that the situation with Devin White is just too far gone. You had the trade request that didn't go well. Then you had him getting benched throughout the season. Even in the 2 playoff games, he was benched for KJ Britt. That's an insane look, by the way. Then you just had the poor play, the non-consistent play of Devin White, where he just did not look like the same linebacker that you saw in that 2020 playoff run. And that's just the way it is. Can Devin White get back to that form? Yes, I certainly believe so, but I just don't think it's going to be with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be 26 years old going into free agency, and I just think that his time in Tampa Bay is up. That is just what I essentially believe. I think that Devin White is going to take some type of prove-it deal with another team. I feel like that is probably where he's just at in his point in his career. Can he get a big payday somewhere down the line? Yes. I still believe that that is a possibility. I mean, he made $11.7 million with the Bucs in 2023. I just think that his time in Tampa Bay is up. It seems like that this relationship has ran its course. It seems like the Devin White's time in Tampa Bay has ran its course, and I don't see him as a Buccaneer moving forward. The only thing that I would say that could keep Devin White around is the Bucs are going to have a needed inside linebacker. That's just an absolute fact. And it may be a situation where, you know, the Bucs have such desperate of a need that they may look to bring Devin White back on a 1-year deal, and he can prove it. Aside from that, it's really not much legs to stand on in terms of Devin White coming back. Lavonte David, this one's very interesting. Not because of the fact that I don't believe the Buccaneers are interested in bringing Lavonte David back. I still 100%, I 100% believe they want to bring Lavonte David back. It is a matter of, how should I put this? Will Lavonte David retire or not? He's 34 years old. He's been playing in this league now for, I believe, 12 years. And he's done a lot. Won a Super Bowl, Pro Bowls, All Pros, all those different types of things. I believe he has a Hall of Fame resume on his career. I do believe he will eventually be a Hall of Famer. But, you know, is it going to be time for Lavonte David to hang him up? That was the question last year. And Lavonte David did play another year, but is that going to be the case this year? I don't think that this is a question. I do believe the Bucs should bring back Lavonte David, but this is more so a question of, will he retire or won't he retire? If he doesn't retire, I have no doubt the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to work to bring back Lavonte David, get a deal done, because of how valuable he is to the Buccaneers organization and just how good he is at the linebacking position. He really has not dropped off in terms of his overall play. If he does retire, well, then you're going to have a pretty big need there at linebacker, and that's where you get into what I was talking about regarding Devin White. You know, out of sheer necessity, do you try to bring back Devin White? I don't know. It's a legitimate question there. But I think if Lavonte David is game, if he is willing to not retire, the Buccaneers would gladly have him back. Baker Mayfield is the next person on this list. Oh, buddy. I do think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should bring him back. There is a rumor that he wants $40 million per year. I do not subscribe to that theory. I do not subscribe to that rumor. Now, you can if you believe that that is the case, but you know, Baker Mayfield's about to be 29 years old here by the start of next season. When next season starts, he will be 29 years old. I think that giving him a 3-year deal a la a Geno Smith is the right decision. $35 million per year is where it feels right to me. It is kind of the max of what I feel like Baker Mayfield should be earning. And I've talked to you guys time and time again here on the Bleacher Report app. Baker Mayfield had a fantastic year, an absolute career year under Dave Canales. You brought back the offensive you brought back an offensive coordinator, or brought in an offensive coordinator, my apologies, that Baker Mayfield has worked with before. These are all signs that the Buccaneers want to keep Baker Mayfield around. You hired his former OC. That's huge, right? There is discussion that Baker Mayfield had input on the Buccaneers' decision to bring in Mr. Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers' new OC. That's pretty interesting as well. I mean, that's how you treat a franchise quarterback. That's how you treat a guy that you want back in your organization. So all of that to say that yes, the Buccaneers should bring back Baker, and they're heavily interested in bringing back Baker. Heavily interested. And I think that that's the right decision. And I know that I've been saying, yes, the Buccaneers should bring these guys back. Yes, they should. Yes, they should. Yes, they should for a lot of the top names. But whenever you look at the top heavy guys, just go back to the list, like Mike Evans, Levante David, Baker Mayfield. Those three are what I consider as part of the top four, the big four, so to speak. The top four names of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should bring back. There's one more name on that list. He's a little bit further down. You probably see him on there. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But Baker Mayfield's a part of that big four. I mean, if there was four guys that the Buccaneers could bring back, it would be Mike Evans, Levante David, Baker Mayfield, and one more guy on this list. And honestly, I would consider that a fantastic start to the offseason. Fantastic start. So that's the big four. Of course, Evan White is in that shouldn't bring him back category so far at this point. So it is what it is. Greg Gaines is an interesting one. You know, when Greg Gaines was brought in, I had a lot of hype for Greg Gaines. I thought that he was going to be this really good starting caliber defensive lineman who was going to be able to do some really, really good stuff. And it just didn't really materialize like that. He played 42.9% of the snaps this year. Only, no forced fumbles. No, I think he maybe had a sack or two. It just, how do I put this? It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go with Greg Gaines. Now, could you use some still cheap depth, I guess I should say? Yes, you could. Is Greg Gaines going to be that? It's possible. He's going to be 27 years old, but I don't know. I guess I'll say, I'm not going to say they should. You should bring this guy back, right? Am I fine if they bring him back? Yes. I'm not saying it's something that should happen. I feel like you could get what you got with Greg Gaines with a lot of different people in free agency. I don't think that Greg Gaines is irreplaceable, so to speak, right? I don't believe that. So I say that to say this, like, should they re-sign Greg Gaines? No, I wouldn't go that far. Could they re-sign him? Yes, they could. Would it be a bad thing? No, but it wouldn't be a ground-shaking move either, in my opinion. Will Golston is going to be, let's see, he might be 33 years old by the start of next season. He was brought back to the team, I guess I should say, as more of a veteran guy. Played only 22% of the snaps for the Bucs this year. Folks, I'm going to be honest. I believe Will Golston is going to retire just based off of what he was saying on Twitter at the end of the season. It seems like Will Golston may very well retire. Should you bring him back? Again, much like in the case of Greg Gaines, this is a guy that is pretty interchangeable in terms of his overall play and his snap counts and whatnot. I will say, longest tenured Buck, which matters. I mean, who would have thought that I would be saying that? But longest tenured Buck, he's also, I think, a pretty decent leader in that locker room. So that would be reasons to say, yes, the Buccaneers should bring him back. But, it's just a situation where, again, it's another replaceable production type of thing, right? Can you get a guy who could play 22% of snaps, not named Will Golston, who's younger? Yes, you could. Who could probably give you more upside? Yes, you could. So to say that they should bring him back, I'm not going to go that far, but he is a strong leader in that locker room, and I know Todd Bowles likes him a lot. So it is interesting. Moving on to the next name here on the list, you have Matt Filer. Now I'm going to say this, the Bucs shouldn't bring him back. They shouldn't. I think that this was a situation, he's going to be, I believe, 32 years old by the start of next season, where Filer was brought in as the starting guard, was eventually benched in favor of, Who is he benched in favor of? Aaron Stinney. No, I believe Aaron Stinney will be later in on this list, but yeah, this was just a move that didn't work out. I mean, the Bucs brought him in for a pretty cheap deal. I mean, I think like $2.5 million, which is great value, right? Great value for the Bucs. But I just don't believe the Bucs should bring him back. I think that this has ran its course. It's not a great thing whenever you get benched as a starting guard. And I think that Matt Filer is going to want to start somewhere else. And I think the Bucs are going to want to start somewhere else also. So it's an unfortunate thing, but Matt Filer, even as a backup, I think he'd want to go elsewhere. You then have Antoine Winfield Jr., the final member of the Big Four. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should re-sign Antoine Winfield Jr. I don't have to tell you guys how good this guy has been for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers throughout this process, throughout this year. I mean, he had an absolute career year in the most recent season. He was the best player on the Buccaneers defense. You could argue he's the best player on the Buccaneers team. And yes, his play did fall off a little bit to end the year, but he's still one of the best safeties in the league. I believe he's projected to get around $18 million, something along those lines. I have no doubt he's going to be getting that type of contract, and he's earned that type of contract. I also believe that the Buccaneers have an intense interest in bringing him back. Again, another one of the picks from Jason Light, where it just was a fantastic selection. And Jason Light's going to want to keep his own guys in the building, guys that he picked. And Winfield Jr. slots right into that. He's a fantastic fit for a Todd Bowles style of defense and what he likes to do. Winfield Jr. is a guy that can get after the quarterback. He can stop the run. He can do well in pass coverage. He is literally the Swiss Army knife of this Todd Bowles defense. So I 100% imagine that Todd Bowles is going to want him back. 100% imagine that the Buccaneers want to and should bring him back as well. And that's the last of the Big Four. After that, you have got some interesting names. Aaron Stinney is next on the list. I like Aaron Stinney. I think the Buccaneers should bring him back as a backup guard. He's a guy that's got some starting experience. He was, had a $1.4 million deal last year. He's going to be 30 by the start of next season. But in my opinion, I don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. I think that, Aaron Stinney is just good veteran depth that can give you starting snaps if you need him to in a pinch. So yes, I believe if you can get him at a cheap cost, you should 100% bring back Aaron Stinney because it's good, very valuable depth with starting experience as well, which I believe certainly matters. Similar thing can be said for Chase Edmonds. He's going to be 28 years old by the start of this upcoming season, but much like in the case of Aaron Stinney, he's a guy that can, give you some opportunities if you need him to. He's going to be a good fit for the West Coast style offense of Liam Cohen. And I liked what Chase Edmonds did throughout last season. I think that he was a very capable, very solid running back. You only got him for $1.2 million. If you can get a similar deal done, you should bring him back because at his worst, Chase Edmonds is a third running back, essentially. He's essentially your third running back in this situation. So, yes, he is absolutely a player that I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should bring back as cheap depth behind Rachaad White, just being a solid guy there as well. Ryan Neal is the next player in this mix. Unfortunately, very nice guy, Ryan Neal. It did not work out in Tampa Bay. I don't believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should bring him back. I believe they should look elsewhere at the safety position. I believe they will do so. Look, he had to play linebacker. He did decent in that role, did well in that role given the circumstances. Good run stopper, but the pass coverage was just not where it needed to be this past year. So I think the Buccaneers should move on. Zach Schreiner, long snapper. Hey, why not? Should bring him back. 33 years old. Keep the trend going, man. I mean, why not? Should bring him back. Long snappers are always a fun thing. Chase McLaughlin. Now, this one's underrated. I 100% believe the Buccaneers should bring back Chase McLaughlin. He's going to be 28 years old by the start of next season, but was absolutely money for the Buccaneers whenever he was playing. I mean, 100% on PATs, 93.5% on field goals. It's the best the best statistical season of Chase McLaughlin's career. He had a career year and a contract year and a prove-it type deal. I believe they should bring him back because he's done a fantastic job, and give him a good payday at that. D. Delaney, much like in the case of Aaron Stinney, he's going to be 29 years old by the start of next season. I think they should bring him back as a solid depth guy. You can go in there. You can just have him be a quality guy who can play corner, can play safety, can do a lot of different things for your defense, and is just good, valuable depth. Cam Gill, I'm going to say no, they shouldn't bring him back. He is young depth, but I do believe the Buccaneers should go in a different direction. Just hasn't really developed a whole lot throughout the process. Nick Leverett, I do believe they should bring him back. He's a restricted free agent. I believe they will eventually do so. Justin School is an interesting guy. I'm going to say yes. Why not? They should bring him back. You can get him at probably a veteran minimum. It seems like he has a very good relationship with Tristan Wirfs, a good, veteran to younger player offensive relationship in that mix. So yeah, bring back Justin School as a backup tackle. And then you have some unrestricted free agents in Devin Tompkins, which the answer to that is going to be yes. Brandon Walton, the answer to that is going to be yes. Those are some easy ones. And then finally, you have David Wells. I'm going to say no. I think the Buccaneers can do better at backup tight end, and I believe they will focus in on that throughout this offseason. So, folks, with that, we've gone through the entire list. We've gone through all 20 players of who the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should and shouldn't bring back before the start of free agency. Now, I believe we were about half and half, maybe a little bit over half, but I would say the shoulds, you should bring them back. It's in your best interest. Mike Evans, Levante David, Baker Mayfield, Antoine Winfield Jr. And I'd even throw Chase McLaughlin in there. Those are the 5. Everybody else is, hey, it'd be nice if you could bring them back. Well, actually, in the case of guys like Devin White, Matt Filer, Ryan Neal, shouldn't bring them back really under any circumstances, just because those situations didn't work out. Everybody else, I mean, hey, you could if you wanted to, if you wanted some interesting depth, but it's not a necessity. The 5 that I feel are necessities are the 5 that I mentioned. After that, it's really a toss-up or a no for everybody else. So it's an interesting situation, folks, but that's going to be the start of the Buccaneers offseason. We'll see how everything gets along, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. Again, my name is James Hill. I run the YouTube channel, MrBucsNation, where we talk about all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we're going to keep on talking about these types of things here on the Bleacher Report app, right? The offseason is just getting started for the Bucs. They brought in their new OC. They have a lot of players they got to re-sign, obviously. So the offseason is just going to continue to shake and move as we continue on this process. But again, thank you guys so much for watching this live stream. Hope you guys all enjoyed. And as always, folks, we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream here on the Bleacher Report app. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now. See you soon, and go Bucs.